Yes, so let me give you just a quick orientation. So Keith Wicks is a market study consultant. He has studied this community. He's going to tell more about his background, but he has done work in Louisville outside of work for LTG. He was the author of our first market study that helped us find Finzer. So what the market study does is helps us look at the market, look at where we are, and where is the best optimal opportunity for our store to be located. So he has been doing some work on several properties. We are not making those properties known right now, just because it's not what's the word? It's not business savvy to be out with your locations, particularly grocery stores and competitive market, but everybody knows about Finzer, so he's going to zoom in on the Finzer property. The Finzer property is one of 6 properties that we are studying right now. The good news is all of them look pretty good. The Finzer is probably the best one, so it would be good practice for us for Keith to review that. So we have a market studies committee who's met a couple of times in the last year. We hired Keith.
Is that the same as the site committee?
Yeah, the site committee. We've hired Keith to do the market study, and so he's halfway through the market study. He's looked at those 6 properties, and he's ready to give us a report on those. Is that good enough, Keith?
It is, thank you.
Okay.
Well, just a brief over, because we've got a short period to kind of get this information across to. But I've got 40 years in the business of supermarket development. And that's been from doing it with wholesalers, chains, independents, communities, developers, and more focused in the rural area. I've done a lot of work throughout Kentucky and the region, working with Kroger. And even more specifically, I was involved in the Grops Avenue, the Clifton Kroger, the Portland and the West Broadway, and a lot of other stores in that area. So I understand downtown, and I was even involved with a small store that closed, Kroger store that closed downtown. So the point to all of that is I have a lot of experience. About 10 years ago, I realized that independent grocers, which is what a food co-op is, just a group of people as the independent operator. But for the opportunity, that's what you were approaching here. And I realized that independents don't have the resources that chains do in today's world of competition. So I put together a workbook for the development of supermarkets that brings labor and margins, profitability, sales forecast, and just as importantly, the productivity of the team to be able to open this store and make it sustainable. And for that, I even further focused on the food co-op because it was transitioning from natural and organic boutique stores, if you will, to the need in the country to come up with a format that's fitting for the underserved areas of the country, and that goes from both rural and urban. So I focused a lot on the urban. I believe we've come up with formatting. We've certainly got a business planning system that helps bring it together so that you're knowledgeable and experienced on the day with the team, and you can go to market competitively. Now, in the past, retailers have, in some cases for the boutiques, they piecemeal something together for supply and how they're going to do their operation and their financial statements and that to understand and drive the business. But the truth of the matter is that the independent world has been using major wholesalers forever, back 70s and 60s. And with that, they've developed a complete support system. So the idea here was to realize that you can go to any major wholesaler and they'll help you set up a standard grocery store. But that's not a co-op exact. It's not a specialty independent store, exactly. You have to add layers to that then. And so the first approach to figuring feasibility is, will Standard Store work in the market to gather the a competitive market share for the side stores that meets, and this is the important factor that we're going to look at in these numbers, a certain retail productivity or dollars per square feet. So whatever your store size is, there's somewhere between an $8 and $10 outlook for your first year of business. You need at least that for a base to build upon and get your break evens and profitability. Does that all make sense?
Yes, there's head shaking.
And the important thing to that is that I can forecast anything. Just throw a competitive store and not figure out, how you get there in terms of the services and such. But that's what we're doing here. We're going to first take a look at the market. This methodology that I'm using here is a method that's been used in the grocery industry. It was first implemented about 1970. And it's been refined through the years with everything from technology and all that stuff. But the census is a good accounting of population, as good as it gets. And we've got estimates. I've got a demographic program with population estimates today from the census are not based on their estimates, it's based on housing starts and it's a more accurate run I found for identifying potential. And then the business model that I'm going to show you first lays out what the demographics are of the population. Very importantly, the density in the area that you're studying. How much population is there for you to compete for against the big markets, and how much is there for you to gather from convenience position? We've got that all mapped out. And then it's going to roll down to your competition. Who is serving this market today between the Kroger's and the value markets and such? And who is serving this market in an excessive way for the alternative groceries at drugstores and dollar stores and convenience stores? That's the underserved activity that occurs. So we're capturing dollars from everything. We're projecting market share capture from the competition. And that's relative to what I'm assuming for your store. If it's a standard IGA, as you may have seen, just a conventional grocery store, there's X amount of dollars to be had. But as a co-op, I heard someone speaking earlier about the dynamics of the co-op, getting into the community and getting that energy going. That's another layer of business attraction. But realize in this that when you're talking a store of this size, a competitive store, a conventional store, everyday groceries along with all the fresh goods and natural choices, that you're going to have to be more competitive than the standard model because your cost of operation in the urban market is higher. So your gross margins have to be set accordingly and still be competitive. But the difference maker is, what are you going to do with the first side? How are you going to stand out with a handful of real attractions in that mix? And that will all come down in your planning affair. But for now, I'm assuming that you're going to have those layers. Competitively, you're going to have some special attractions. The co-op is going to be active and engaging. And then there's going to be the wholesaler who will help you set up that standard store, merchandise, give you a little bit of guidance on your team, but you're going to have to train it on your own. That means you have to come up with a staff of their management. The reason I bring all this up is the assumptions for this store are laid out in my report. They're reasonably achievable for the store we're talking about, but you need to know that we are talking about a competitive store here. And with that and the guidance of your wholesaler, we would target about a 24-month break even. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
2 years. 2 years to break even.
So that's all of the criteria that I pulled together, the assumptions I've done to come up with these forecasts. So, I'm going to first show you the market and how we're looking at this. These are all the 1 mile range, the radius of each of the locations that we're looking at. And we set these up to service the west side, to look at the far west side, the downtown west side, the central area, over on the east side, and in Old Louisville. So looking at the bottom of the screen, there's the Old Louisville, and you can see that 1 mile reach. It's getting into downtown. It's getting into a little kind of certainly into Old Louisville because the University District and that. And so what we've got there is one that's more central in the residential, but it still has my presence for that daytime sector to get additional business. And I'll explain why that's important later, but we're looking to capture both grocery trade and food service trade. There's a lot of that in this one. People are something that Cassidy had mentioned early in introduction. The finding on every one of these sites isn't surprising because if you look that they all have potential. If you look at the competitive ring, they're all in red on the perimeter of this greater downtown market. That's not convenient shopping. And in years past, back in the 90s, I remember doing this area and there were Winn-Dixies and Pick Packs and lots of little stores out and about to cover the neighborhoods along with bigger stores. They've all disappeared from the most part. Value's kind of hanging on. I think they could use help. But they're there. There's a couple savings, which means all those stores that those neighborhood areas that have been servicing convenience were all there for the taking. Every one of these sites, with the exception, in my opinion, of site 300, I take that back, site 600 and site 300, viable potential. For the story or talk is 15,000 square feet, although we tested a couple of these out as a couple of facilities of closed family dollars and that might be possible. So I tested out smaller stores. If you have a smaller store, you need less volume to make that feasible volume. So that's not a bad thing, but it does scale down what you can do in terms of fresh services when you get down to about 10,000 square feet. Personally, I think the sweet spot on small stores, neighborhood stores, is either 15,000 or 25,000 square feet, because they can achieve different levels of competitiveness as a full service store. That's what you've got, 15 in an urban market, nicely sized for that.
Keith,
100 through 400.
Keith, just a second. I just wanted to, so 15,000 square foot store is like about Walgreens. So that's kind of the size. And when he's talked about between 15 and 25, we've been trying to be around 15, smaller. But the grocery store market, if you're noticing any new grocery stores that are opening, they're the super stores. So they're 25, 40,000 square feet because they want to sell other things other than groceries. And so we are operating in this kind of traditional mom and pop, very locally owned size, smaller neighborhood urban footprint versus going for the more larger suburban size store.
You are, but Council, that's still, for years I put together full stores like that, serve small communities and urban areas and that, and you can put out a full variety. Now, if I go to Kroger, there's going to be 40,000 plus products and SKUs, as they call it. If I go to Aldi, there's going to be 4,000, but that's a full service store. If I go to a convenience store, there's going to be 2,000. That's why it's limited as a gift for food service, grocery service. But in your case, at 15,000 square feet, you're going to be able to get about 12,000 SKUs in there if you want to choose. And that's a great variety to work with. You don't have all the choices, but you've got the variety to be competitive. So I'm confident you can put this store together. The question becomes, who are you going to connect with to guide you through the development of this store? And you've already made connection with AWG, so you're in a good lane to get that accomplished. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the sites that make the best sense are the ones that are in the downtown market, because and that ring it, because they can reach the underserviced areas, the most underserviced areas away from COVID, and they can reach the daytime sector. So now your site criteria comes down to going to there's plenty of info in any of these locations down to what's your business setting and possibilities of a good business impression in the exterior and setting up for the interior experience. And that's all the kind of the details of however this comes out. I'm assuming you're going to have, as I call it, a retail supportive site. There's going to be a receiving area for palletized product. That's your best cost of receiving. And there will be a nice storefront that you can have sight lines and create top of mind impression with passing traffic in that. And it's accessible both inside and to the market. So I've assumed that for all of these. They all have certain market access. Sure, it's an urban market. Some of them are two-lane than that. But people adapt in the urban market. The community does. And you can make the location, you can develop the location with a good marketing program and of course having the right presentation. So right here at Louisville, we have 1 mile. We're going to stretch into what I'm concerned with is some industrial areas, part of your trade area. So that was some of your upside opportunity in there, but it's a small facility in the Oak Street area. That district is kind of right to look at for service up that way. And it's a good old district. It needs some energy. It needs an anchor tenant like a grocery store. So it's possible. And you can get by with more volume still only in the $100 per square foot. The second location that stands out here is a 400 Russell East. That's a big redevelopment area. And when I look at the housing starts in there, it's pretty impressive with the population that is growing in that area. It's a nice upside just on growth, but there's still lots of potential and density. And I'm going to show you density in each one of these sites, which is pretty eye-opening in itself. The next time I should talk about that is Spencer. That's my favorite site because I like a cultural location and cultural from retail attraction. In this case, you're associated with the health district, with proximity to there. And that's a health thing to the promotion of the fresh stores and that you can connect with them as a marketing partner. The store I'm doing in Chicago now is 10,000 square feet. Interestingly enough, you got a graphic up there with the ear of corn in the hand. Remember seeing that?
Yeah.
So it's one that I've seen before, and I've seen it as your logo and all that stuff, and I love simple logos for presenting impressions and all that, and then rolling, not just for the sign, but rolling that into labels and signature product and fresh fare. It's a fun character to work with that. So I had to add that in because my favorite area is this health area, and I think you can really drive not just accessible foods, but good healthy foods. And it's not so much natural or organic, I call it good and healthy foods, fresh made deli foods, fresh cuts of the meat and produce, products and all that. But what it always comes down to how are you going to be sustainable? And a grab and go program, a featured program like that is a good way to make money. There's good margins in that. There's huge demand for it. The price points on it give you room to keep a staff of skilled people, a good staff of folks to work this. You're contributing to the local skill development with this type of store. And I think the dynamic of downtown, I guess I call it the medical district, I call it healthcare, and the reach that you get to the underserviced areas here is a promising location. I don't know where your particular site would be over on site 400 the Russell East here, but in general, that could be a good dynamic because it's an emerging district. You got to find out what that's going to be. And you got to be careful of getting buried in a commercial development, so that you just don't have that top of mind presence and you're sacrificing some potential in that way. Pinzer, on the other hand, is off one block, but I think it can be created as a storefront and one parking lot lighting to give it a fun atmosphere, comfortable atmosphere, and really become a nice destination for everyone. So that's it. We can get into the central Russell area, but again, that's a neighborhood location and quite limiting, not just on today's sales, but the growth that is possible because you are interior. So with everything I've studied and what I know about a business model being potentially profitable and sustainable, the three sites of 100, 400, and 500, Russell East, Louisville, and Pinzer, look like promising areas for you. And it's quite possible because each of these areas because there's so much underserved area here, that there could be a 2, maybe even 3-store position here.
Can you move us to the next chart and talk to us about Pinzer? We got about 5 minutes in this, 5 minutes with you. We're gonna have to get out of the space. So.
You're right. I'll go with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any questions as he moves us? So now he's gonna show his work. So more demographics, more about the sales potential for these properties. He's gonna look specifically at Pinzer.
Yeah, what, after the first site is chosen, wherever it may be, how long would it be, you think, for the second site to come up? Would that take another 2 or 3 years or what for?
Tony, you gave us way ahead, but those are great questions. I don't know. I think that after we choose this one, it'll probably take us about 2 years to open.
Okay.
I think it'll be about a 2-year process if we are good and efficient.
3 years if you take the more typical co-op course, and I mean that has to do with membership development, getting the finance funding together, and that tends to take long. The retail plan.
We're gonna find the money. We're gonna find the money.
They really gotta be diligent at, and that can tend to, stretch this out as well. So 24 months if you really stick to the planning process, 36 months completely.
We need you to make your chart full screen, or maybe we should just take him off of the view.
Is this a,
All right.
see this?
Can we just
we can see.
can we do it without his, to see if
Oh,
it makes
I don't have that. I don't have this loaded up on my computer though.
no, without his, if we can
Oh,
just
without
do
his
the screen
face.
and see if that does it.
Yeah.
We can see most of it. Hold a second.
Is this available in the paper copy?
This will be available for the site market study committee.
Yeah.
It won't be available for
When
everybody.
are we gonna have a meeting on that?
You want to try to organize this to get ahead on you?
What?
Would you like to try to get us together?
Yeah, I'm fine. Have the names, the telephone, email, all that.
That would be great.
That development committee, had to sign NDA.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just to give you a quick recap.
Yes, I can do it.
of this market model and sales
Okay, he's moving.
forecasting is that we have all 6 sites in common. And we're looking down at each site's market assessment. Right off the top, we're looking at population in the half mile, 1 mile, and 1.5 mile. And these are urban population. I have much less than this. So we're out in the suburban that we're dealing with a greater distance to try and get business. In the suburban, the urban, you're going to get your primary market share of the half mile and the 1 mile. We're going to look for a little business in the first year of development out of 1.5, which are marketing and the general maturation of the business innovation that I'm going to start capturing a little bit more from there. You also capture business from beyond this trade area because you're a co-op. You're going to have members out in, well, all so there's some distance on that. You're also a downtown location with all of the daytime trade. So there are folks that are going to do grocery shopping there, become a member and such. So this is one of the layers to the business that can be projected here, and I've got that accounted for. I want you to look, when you get a chance and you get this in paper form, look at this density here. This is the density of population in this half mile versus the 1 mile. And if I jump over to site 200 on the west end central area, that's over by the Kroger. And you can see that we got low density and tight on there so that you have to reach out further from that area to get your business. You have to be much more competitive and maybe sacrifice a little gross margin in that area. So 10 away from that site, even though it's a great business profile location for traffic, in fact, for a Central Russell and Russell's population density is okay, but it's interior and limited. Now, if we go all the way over, I'm going to hop quick because I like it. It's these last 3, 4, I'm sorry, 4 and 5. The population is very good in there. The densities are really good, but when we drop down to this daytime sector, retailers would die to have that kind of presence and convenience. So a sector like that you can start getting business off of would be the higher gross margin product, and they buy groceries and all that too, but they help support fresh operations. These are terrific areas, and some of these have proximity to downtown and that, the healthcare, but not like these. So I think the dynamic of 400 and 500 because of that is really interesting. As we go down, I'm going to switch over here to see this. As we go down the market review, we're doing population, households, and the size of the households matters because this is a single person's market in here more so than here, where you can get into some that start stretching up to the most typical family area, 2.5. So that'll make a difference on your business tailoring and such. So you go down, here's the mix of residents in race, ethnicity, and just as important as a consumer group here, college degrees tend to give a market an interest in better choices and all of that. That's what Whole Foods decides on. But the more objective factors that I use for projecting this is the traffic exposure and things like that that it has. And here's the competition assessment that they're taking 60, 70, 80% of the trade, well, not 80 in this market, but 60 to 70, 75% of the market from main competition, and then the aggregate of alternative stores. People actually shopping for groceries at dollar stores is just the other. So here's your forecast, and we've got to bring this down to a quick conclusion. In this case, I've used the vacant family dollar at 9,100, so it's a lesser volume forecast. But we're also looking at the dollar per square foot here. There's your first year average weekly sales, which is what we use in pro forma analysis to look at the feasibility. Here's the year ending goal, but that's setting up budget and all of that. This is what we design the store to open for with your staff and such like that.
Our retailer will want us to buy 30,000 of
Your annual sales, and I'm gonna tell you now that all of our sites range $600 annually, potential and outside some location. So they're fairly healthy stores at this productivity to choose from. This is just a little more, this is the impact, where the business comes from, how you get this. You're impacting, you're hitting this, the corporate effect and value market now for minus 3.5%, because they're not even going to notice. They'll know you're open and checking on you and that, but it's not really going to affect their sales to any discernible point. The impact on the secondary is similar because there's a lot of secondary shopping going on down there, and I think you can even beat on that, but I forecast reasonably achievable by a staff and retail foreman. And here's the sales from beyond, which is members from beyond, destination shoppers that find out about this, some of the daytimers that become regular shoppers, things like that. Each one of these locations is forecasted differently, and we'll run through very quickly. We've got 18 a square foot here, and if I jump down, it gets low with some of the interior ones. $7 is not a good starting point, but we're at 8. Or over 8, and there's potential to hit 9 and even double digits, but that's really going on a limb for what I believe you can do. I think you've got a good basic business possible, and what we need to do now is look at, can you see, I'm going to stop sharing and review this real quick.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for a second. Wait,
This is the all-important, how are you going to get this? It's your retail model that was put together through the time I've worked with it on career. And that's been about 4 years. And so we have the primary services that you see on the side. Center store grocery. Well, let me talk about this. So we have a manager for produce, one for meat and seafood, one for deli bakery, and one for center store, which is also going to be the assistant GM on days off and things like that. And they're responsible for all the center store, dairy, frozen, GM, beer, and the front end services. So that's your management groups, that's your retail model, and I'm going to give you an example. I'm here to give you a forecast for sales breakdown of how you get there from each department: sales, distribution, what they contribute to the sales, the gross margin, and what that comes out to. And I was gonna do this later passes we talked about, but I got fired up on where we're at. And I decided just to throw a first pass of labor into this thing. And so that's all projected on this column here, sales per labor hour. Your staff's retail productivity, which is based on standard productivity. And we'll refine that later. But what it does is it leads down to how many hours full-time and part-time that you're going to need. And at the bottom of this, right here, it calcs out your full-time players and your part-time, and how that really plays out at the end, you know, for the total staffing of the store. I think for this one, I got 12 and 27, which is actually too high. I gotta go back and keep working this thing. That's the productivity on it. It's gonna come down, I had it from something wrong with whack, to about 22, 23 personnel in the store. And that depends on your commitments to a position and a retail format. So I hate bringing this to such a quick overview. But the bottom line is I'm really comfortable with forecasting these stores as long as I understand the type of store that you're going to develop and you understand what that is. I believe we're there in terms of a retail model, as this shows. And I believe that we're there in terms of a market, how the market's retail potential, that we can tailor this particular model into any one of those locations and make it work. More about a point of what are you going to end up with a site? So help you pick the best one out that you can. But my conclusion and report is going to go into more detail on each of these locations, and it's going to explain these models a little better. And I will be able to get into the actual feasibility of a business model. Picking you up for delivering this for a full movement.
Awesome.